Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I will be installing Resonate's software load balancing product, Central Dispatch, on a Windows Server virtual machine. Apologies in advance for any ums and uhs. I've noticed that I tend to insert those whenever I anticipate a pause or a silence in the conversation. Currently on the Resonate website, let me move my image out of the way and switch to my virtual machine. My virtual machine, as mentioned, is running Windows Server 2012, currently serving a couple of pages with IIS. The default page renders the name of the system, which is D2, and then there's a page beneath that renders the logo, the Resonate logo, in green. I'll kick off the installation here. Obviously, to perform an install, you need access to the software package. You also need to install as administrator if installing on Windows, or root, or with sudo permissions if installing on Linux or Unix. Two additional accounts that are needed for installation are an administrative account and a monitor account. The administrative account is used to configure and make changes to the Central Dispatch site, and the monitor account is used strictly for monitoring or read-only purposes. As you step through the install, please acknowledge the license agreement. Select yes if you agree, no if you do not. Components available for install are Node, management tools, and documentation. I hope I don't need to explain what documentation is. Management tools are the GUI and command line configuration utility to manage and administer the Central Dispatch site. Node is the load balancing component that performs all of the load balancing functions, whether they are scheduling or delivering and answering content requests. We'll select Node and Management Tools and click on Next and accept the default for most of these. Loopback adapter, if not already installed, will be installed as part of the installation. A loopback adapter, or the loopback adapter, is the means by which packets are routed from the scheduler to the content nodes. The loopback adapter, in addition to the default 127.0.0.1 address, also ends up getting assigned a placeholder address to facilitate communication between all of the nodes in the Central Dispatch site. Will obviously be non-routed. This is the address that's selected for the particular node that I'm installing on. Very rarely do you need to change it, so I will not change it here. I'll just accept it, click Next. I only have a single NIC on this system, but if I had multiple NICs or multiple IP addresses, I could select a particular IP address or NIC to be bound for the Central Dispatch communication. The authentication, whether it's to administer the site, to monitor the site, the accounts used for administration can either be local accounts, LDAP, LDAP-S accounts, or Active Directory accounts. In this case, I'm going to say no to LDAP authentication, which is what you would select. You would select yes if you're using LDAP, LDAP-S, or Active Directory. I'm using local accounts, so I'll say no. At which point I'm presented with a screen where I am meant to select the two accounts used to both administer the site as well as to monitor the site. For administration purposes, I have an account called DISP ADM that I'm going to select, and for monitoring purposes, I have DISP MON. All of the nodes that will participate in this cluster or site have to have these two accounts in common. Strictly speaking, they only need the administration account in common. The monitor account, if you're never going to have anyone monitor the site, does not need to match. We'll select Next, select Default for intra and internode communication for ports. Confirmation of selections made thus far. I'll select Next. The installation will proceed. At this point, what's being installed are the management tools, the GUI, and the command line utility for administration. This next installation section installs a couple of pieces of middleware for both administrative purposes as well as for statistic and metric gathering. CD adapter is the piece of middleware through which the GUI connects in order to effect changes and control of the central dispatch site. I'll select one for the instance, meaning I only want one instance of the middleware installed. I will rename it from the default CD adapter _1 to CD _demo. Leave the port number as default of 2900. And again, this is another piece of middleware called Data Collector, which is used to aggregate statistics from all of the nodes in the site. Statistics such as hits, server selected, traffic over time. You can even use this to generate baseline information for comparison purposes later on. I'll select Next. Only thing I'll change here is the name of the data collector. I will similarly name it Data Collector-Demo. I'll leave the port numbers to their default. Hit Next. Program group name will not change it. We'll leave it as CD Master 4.3.5. Next. It will complete installation of CD Master and install the requisite Java component in there. The next section installs what we call Node, which is the actual product that is the load balancer. Node primarily installs an agent that gathers statistics such as latency, CPU utilization, open connections. These end up feeding the load balancer scheduling portion to allow the selection of a node based on any of those items: CPU load, open connections, latency. The other component that gets installed is a driver if we're installing on Windows, or a kernel module if we're installing on Linux or Unix. We'll hit Next. Let the install complete. Once it's complete, it's going to want to restart. The installation, loading of the driver, and the binding to the network card takes a little bit of time. We might see our connection disappear here. I have another node called D3 that has the same pages but renders the logo in a different color. The logo on all of these nodes is comprised of 49 tiles. So for demonstration purposes, when I configure this demo site, I will configure the logo as one of the pages that's load balanced. And that way you'll be able to visualize the load balancing by refreshing the logo page, which would then render the logo in distinct color combinations from the nodes that are in the site. In this particular case, it'll be gold and green. I will also add another node called D1 that will render the logo in blue. Let's double check the status of our installation. It's now complete. I'll hit finish to restart. I'll thank you for joining, and I will catch up with you in another video where I configure the site. Thank you.